Facing staffing shortages, medic covering costs of rideshare to hospital for low acuity patients. Yeah, that can't go bad. Hey everyone, my name is Chris and welcome to Real Rideshare Stories. And that's right, there's apparently a partnership between Mecklenburg County EMT or EMS, Emergency Medical Services, and Uber and Lyft. So now some drivers might be taking non-emergent care patients from their home to the hospital. And I can't see anything going wrong with that. So I'm going to be referencing this article during this video, and it's from WCNC Charlotte. If you want to check out this article in full, link will be in the description. But yeah, let's take a look at this. So they're saying, would you take an Uber or Lyft to the hospital? Now it's an option for Mecklenburg EMS is offering to patients who have non-emergent issues. And for now, they will even cover the cost of the patient. So that is probably good for patients. They're really excited because if they're non-emergent and they need to go to the hospital, well, an Uber or Lyft will take them there for a lot cheaper than an ambulance ride. So I could see the benefit there, but let's flip it to the driver's side. If you're non-emergent, but some sort of emergency happens on the way to the hospital, guess who is not EMT certified? That's right, it's your driver. They cannot help you in emergency situations. So if you are a non-emergent person going from your house or somewhere to the hospital and something arises at that time, well, you might get an ambulance called on you anyway. Now, the reality of the situation is non-emergent care patients that do need rides to the hospital probably will not form some sort of emergency issue on the way to the hospital. But again, there is always that chance. So drivers, just be prepared if you see something like this, if you're driving around Mecklenburg County in Charlotte, North Carolina, and there probably is other areas that are doing that too. So if you are aware of some areas that might be doing that when it comes to emergency services, now using Uber and Lyft in a partnership to get non-emergent people to the hospital, let me know in the comments below what market that is. So going on, it says taking a rideshare to the hospital is something people across the country have been doing to save money and time. WCNC Charlotte asked former Lyft driver Essence how many times she was called for a hospital visit. Massey laughed and said, "Oh my goodness, a lot." Massey said she was a Lyft driver for 4 years and remembers having to respond to an urgent situation. Yes, I pulled up and the boyfriend's flagging her down, Massey said. Massey, sorry if I apologize for butchering that. I was like, oh, okay. He said, yeah, she's getting ready to have the baby. I said, right now? He said, yeah, her water just broke. And I was like, oh, let me get a blanket. Quick question. What would you do in that situation? Comment below, let me know. So what ended up happening is Jonathan Studnick with Mecklenburg EMS said they've now partnered with rideshare services like Lyft and Uber as an alternative option for people who don't require an ambulance and EMS personal care. When you hit the nurse triage line and you answer those questions and they say, the only thing you need is transport to an emergency department, then we'll offer you a lift so you can get there. Now, here's the ironic thing. They said Studnick said so far they found many patients actually have refused it. And they said they had 109 successful trips since October 1st, but they had many more eligible individuals. Studnick goes on and says an ambulance is significantly more expensive. The standard rate is about $1,000. And a Lyft, on the other hand, is about $16 to transport on average. Now, having $16 on average to transport somebody from their home or a place of where a person is being picked up to go to the hospital, and then $1,000 on average for an EMT or an EMS to go out and pick you up, that tells you something is wrong with the hospital system and truly, really needs to be fixed. And they go on to say, as the rideshare programs launched, Studnick says Medic is now offering the cost of the rideshare for those who opt in, saying it's currently cheaper than the cost of staffing an ambulance. Depending on how usage changes over time, we may reevaluate that, but today we don't have any plans of passing that lift cost on to patients. So, what are your thoughts on that? Comment below and let me know. Now, for my thoughts on this partnership, for the vast majority of people that need it, probably won't have any sort of issue, and taking an Uber or Lyft is going to be fine. The only thing is there is going to be an elevated risk of having a non-emergent person become emergent on the way there. And the problem is most drivers aren't going to have the proper training to be able to deal with something like that, let alone having the emergency care on hand to be able to help that person. And in that case, that could be a difference between getting to the hospital quicker because they called an ambulance to get them there versus waiting for an Uber or Lyft to come and take them and then having to wait for an ambulance to come on top of that. So that is the only issue I do have there. Like I said, it is going to be rare though that could happen, but it is a greater risk than it is just having a normal Uber or Lyft ride. Now, going beyond the partnership between Uber and Lyft and emergency services with non-emergent care patients, let's take a look at why does this have to happen to begin with? Well, the whole reason is because there is a staffing shortage of EMTs. The question is, why is there a staffing shortage? Probably because you're only paying them $13 an hour. That's probably my best guess. I did live in Charlotte, so I do know somebody who was an EMT in Charlotte, and that's what they were making was $13 an hour. This was a few years ago, so the whole thing does come down to, are they making a little bit more or not? Probably not, and that's probably why you are seeing less EMTs out there, because they're going somewhere else and finding a different job that's going to pay them a little bit more. Then the whole on average of $1,000 for a ride from an ambulance to go from a person to pick them up to the hospital. And, on average about $16 for an Uber or Lyft. There is a huge difference there. Yeah, sure. I get it. You have to staff probably 2 people. And again, $13 an hour plus benefits. You're probably looking at $25 an hour, and it's not going to take that long to get that EMT to there. So we'll say on average about $100 for labor, and then the gas, which isn't that much, and the ride itself. So why does it cost $1,000 overall? And correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know this answer, and I'm just asking it. So if you know this, please put it in the comments below and let me know. Does the supplies that a person needs on the ambulance ride to the hospital, do they get billed for the supplies that they need? Or is this something that is just an average amongst all individuals that take an ambulance ride? Comment below and please share that with me, because that doesn't make sense. You can't just justify $1,000 by saying, well, we have all of these supplies on hand. Well, if they didn't use them, they're not getting charged for them. So what is going on here? And that's the bigger problem when it comes down to it. Somewhat off topic, but not really. Again, I want to know, what are your thoughts on the program itself with the partnership for non-emergent care people to be taken in an Uber or Lyft versus taking an ambulance? And then what are your thoughts on the fact that they can't staff an ambulance and that it is so much more money to take somebody in an ambulatory care unit versus an Uber or a Lyft? Comment below, let me know. All right, we're going to wrap it up there. Make sure you subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. Also, smash that like button. And as always, never drink and drive. Always tip your drivers, delivery drivers, and shoppers. And we'll see you in the next one.